Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Oreaganic podcast. Today's episode topic is something that every single fucking human being who is health conscious, who wants to be living as healthy as possible, but doesn't know how to in the modern day, needs to listen to. Because unfortunately, we live in a world where many things are very processed. There are many greedy little companies out there who want to get their grubby little hands all over as much profit as they possibly can. And this leads to us consumers being left with many options that are, yes, toxic, have ingredients in them that are not actually healthy for us. And the best part is we're not told any of this shit. No one's out there telling us what the ingredients in our food really do to us long term. There's not enough research to show it. There's also way more toxins in things in our modern day world besides just food, especially like beauty products. What am I saying? Beauty products, fragrances, literally everything. Everywhere you look, I'm sure you can find something that is toxic. And this episode is not to scare you. It's not to fearmonger. It's not to clickbait. Nor is it to change your mind and make you think that, oh my God, I need to change my whole lifestyle now. This episode is for the people who already kind of feel this awareness and pressure of like, oh my God, so much in this world is toxic. Like, I want to pick good food for myself. I want to pick good ingredients. I want to be living clean and healthy and know that I'm looking out for myself without feeling like I have to sacrifice myself to fucking Narnia to find food ingredients that don't have all the colors of the rainbow and gums from God knows fucking where in them. Like, pretty basic stuff, but for some reason, this topic of non-toxic, clean living, whatever, sometimes becomes contentious, and I don't really know why, because I don't really care how you think. All I care about is that you actually do think and like put conscious thought into the conclusions that you have about the ways you want to live your life and what works best for you. The way that I live my life is not going to be the best way that someone else wants to live their life. And if you resonate with feeling super frazzled or stressed out and just anxious about like, oh my God, everything's non-toxic, just know that I have been where you are. I've been where you are, and that is why I'm making this episode, because it is so important to feel like you are sane and empowered in the choices that you're making, especially as someone who is hyper aware to this stuff and wants to be living as healthy as possible. So, without further ado, let's get into the episode. Welcome to the Oreaganic podcast. I'm your host, Reagan, mechanical engineer, lifelong athlete, and recovered overachiever, here to empower you to pursue your highest potential and live freely as your happiest, most organic self. Every week, we'll dive into topics ranging from personal growth, mindset hacks, psychology, and a blend of science and spirituality to give you all the tools you need to stop living on autopilot and start creating a life of freedom, meaning, and fulfillment as your most organic self. If you're ready to become the best version of yourself, then let's plant those seeds and grow. We can give a collective round of thanks to Tallow Organic Grill on Instagram for being the inspiration behind this episode. I came across a post of theirs on, I think it was Sunday, where they were basically sharing their whole story of how they started this restaurant with the goal of being as organic as possible, like literally as clean, non-toxic of a restaurant experience as you could possibly get. And of course, it fucking took off to the moon. Like, everyone loves it so much. And one of their slides just made me reflect on like how fucked up it is, how much stuff we have to do to feel like we're actually eating a meal that is fully clean. Just listen to this. This isn't even a full list, but this is what they do. 100% seed oil free, pasture raised proteins, 100% grass fed and grass finished steak, organic ingredients, no refined sugar, rice cooked with reverse osmosis water, no preservatives, gums, dyes, MSG, BHT, or natural flavors, organic dairy, and no plastic cutting boards. Oh, I'm sorry. Like, why the fuck can't we just live like the cavemen did? You think that our cavemen ancestors were worrying about plastic cutting boards or organic dairy? No, they weren't. Obviously. They didn't live in a society with however many people we have on this earth at this point, 8 billion, I don't know. But they didn't live in a society that was so industrialized and needed to serve so many people, with the priority being convenience. Because at this point, it only took, 2 or 3 generations for us to become fully reliant on just grocery stores instead of like farms and local food. Like, on the scale of how long humans have existed, this shift of industrialism, especially when it comes to food and processed food, is very, 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 very fucking new. It's very new. And I bring so much back to, like, our biological versions of ourselves and, like, caveman selves, because no matter how fucking industrialized this world gets, no matter how many AIs we make, our most ideal way of living is always going to be based on how us as biological creatures, who are, like, literally our species was made, manufactured by evolution to survive in the wilderness with hunting and farms and community and whatever. That is technically, like, where you need to look to understand, okay, this is how my body was made. My body was made to eat real foods. My body was made to move every day. My body was made to see the sun. My body was made to be, like, in community. That's how you achieve optimal health. And there's so much more that goes into optimal health, obviously, than thinking, wow, how did the cavemen live? Like, you guys are getting my point, I hope, because I'm not going to look at a doctor and say that's the only way that you need to figure out how to live as healthy as possible. But what I am saying from that is, when you take that perspective of that's how you're supposed to be eating, that's the right way to be eating, whatever, and you switch that to how we're actually eating in the modern day, you realize that, like, wow, maybe it is not the best for our bodies to be eating such processed foods with ingredients that we cannot even pronounce so casually. Just watch. The moment you start to get picky with what ingredients you eat, I swear to God, you will be able to find, like, fucking nothing at the grocery store that doesn't have some form of ingredients that are not good for you in it. And I also really don't want to have a cynical perspective and think that, like, you must eat fully non-toxic. You can never have bad foods. You can never be, like, smell of fragrance again. You can never do anything synthetic. Like, that's not how to actually live your best form of life, because we'll get into that later. But it is just really frustrating that it feels like everywhere you look, there's always going to be something that, like, could be cleaner, could be better, isn't fully natural, non-toxic. And as I said, for people who are, looking for that kind of lifestyle, it can be really frustrating. But to my point that not everything has to be perfectly non-toxic in order for you to live healthily, you're stressing about making everything non-toxic can be worse for you than if you just ate a processed donut, or if you just put on a perfume that was quote-unquote toxic. And honestly, I am not a professional in any of this. I am not a nutritionist. I am not a doctor. I am a fucking engineer. But guess what? I like to use my own critical thinking and logical brain to understand these things. So I know that eating processed foods, having exposure to, like, I don't know, perfumes that are synthetic or whatever it may be, these things are not gonna one-off be horrible for you. In fact, over even, like, years of living, they're probably not gonna do anything to you. Where it comes into play is the fact that having a toxic load is a real thing. Like, our bodies are naturally made to detoxify themselves, but because of the nature of how industrialized our world is, our bodies cannot keep up with how many toxins are entering our bodies just from everything that we're exposed to every day and the things that we eat on nearly as fast of a scale as what we are bringing in. And if that's the case, then it is in our highest interest to do our best to minimize our toxic load. And your toxic load is comprised of all of these very small micro moments of exposing yourself to toxins. So is it going to kill you to eat processed food all the time? Is it going to kill you to wear perfume that's not perfectly organic, non-toxic, whatever, or light candles? No, it's not. It's absolutely not. But non-toxic living comes into play when you prioritize. It's important to you to feel like you're doing everything in your power to live as clean as possible so that you feel better about the circumstances in which you cannot avoid the toxic things. And this is the crux of it took me so long to get this. It took me so long to get to this point, because there's also the fact that, like, you don't want to completely wipe all things that bring you joy. Like, you don't want to get rid of all foods. You don't want to never eat, like, a fucking donut from Dunkin' Donuts again, or never light a candle if it's not perfectly, like, non-toxic. That is not the way to be doing it either. the extremes to this are neither of which are a good option to me, which is why I said at the very beginning, you need to find a balance between, okay, I'm making choices in my life where I can, where it's important to me, where I know I'm choosing brands that are cleaner, I'm choosing foods that have better ingredients, like I'm being more conscious here. And I also know that, yeah, I still do like to light candles. I like to have these things, like, and I'm gonna choose to not worry about that because that is a way to be living like the balanced life. I hope this is making sense because I kind of feel like I'm rambling, but this is what I really needed to hear. Maybe within the past, like, especially 3 to 5 years ago, but even more recently than that, because it has taken me so long to get to this point where I have realized, okay, I'm doing what I can, where it's important to me, where I feel like it's applicable and it's aligned and whatever. So I'm not gonna freak out about, oh my god, even though I say that I care about non-toxic living, like, I still do these things that are technically quote-unquote toxic. Bitch, that is living a balanced life. That is living as your most organic self, because you are living for you by, like, the rules that you want to live by, that you know align to your priorities and, like, what you care about. If you could hear me say every bad thing about food ingredients or explain the logic that I have behind, like, why so much is industrialized and processed and how it's not good for us, you can hear all this stuff and still fully have, like, the free will and empowerment to say, okay, I don't really care because I'm fine and I'm chilling, so I'm just gonna trust that and move on. And honestly, fucking kudos to you. Like, complete kudos to you. Not everyone is gonna subscribe to, like, okay, I need to live non-toxic and free and whatever, because it's not for them. That's fine. It doesn't have to be for you. Like I said, this episode is mainly catered to the people who know about, like, they know that they want to live, like, a non-toxic lifestyle, and it kind of stresses them out to not do so, but they don't know how the fuck to do it. So, with that point, let me get into some legitimate tips and, like, where in my life I have made changes to feel like I'm living non-toxic, and the things that I prioritize and what I think about, and areas that I'm kind of just, like, whatever to. My transition to living more non-toxic, honestly, it started very slowly. And I've heard a lot of people say this, where when you decide to commit to, like, okay, I want to live more non-toxic, like, I understand there's a lot of toxins and a lot of the things that we have, like a lot of fake ingredients and whatever, you need to start slow. And you need to make swaps, like, literally one at a time, and not have a fucking aneurysm about the fact that not everything is perfect at once. Because if you try to change your whole entire life, every single piece of clothing you wear, all the food that you buy, like, everything that you're exposed to, you're gonna go insane. And that stress is gonna be so much worse for you than just continuing to live as you are. But the first place that I made changes in my life was kind of in, like, the beauty hygiene kind of area. So I have been using shampoo and conditioner bars. Like, literally, it's like a soap bar, but it's shampoo and conditioner for, I couldn't even, it might be like 4 or 5 years at this point, or even more than that. I've been using them for a long time, and I absolutely love them. I feel like my hair is even healthier and better with them, and, like, they're made with natural ingredients, they're organic, they're whatever. And I honestly started using them because I was like, why don't I just try it out? Let's just see how it is. And obviously, I've never gone back. But that's one of the first things that I switched to. The second switches that I made were for my toothpaste and my face lotion. And these are going to sound, well, one of them is not. The face lotion that I use is now, it's a beef tallow and honey mixture, and it's made with, like, literally maybe like 4 or 5 ingredients, like, very natural, very organic, like, not processed at all. And I love it. Like, I feel like my skin looks better than it did when I was using just, like, normal mainstream, like, classic face lotion, and I love it very, very much. But where I say I might sound like a caveman is I have used a toothpaste powder. And again, this has been literally years since I switched, but it is literally a toothpaste powder made of, like, ground up organic cattle bone. Hey guys, so my name's Reagan, and I actually brush my teeth with, like, crushed up bone and bentonite clay and ancient sea salt and peppermint oil every night. What's your name? Hello? Like, fucking cave woman. Hello. Crazy. But honestly, This toothpaste powder is literally like, it has been the best for my teeth. I swear to God, like, my teeth genuinely felt as clean as they have ever been before using it. And none of this is sponsored. There's a reason I'm not saying the brands, and I'm not trying to gatekeep. Like, if you're curious, I'll tell you. You can DM me on Instagram. It's at Oreaganic Reagan. But I'm not saying it because it just sounds too influencery. I don't know. But I use a toothpaste powder, and there's definitely other brands out there. I'm actually currently on the hunt for kind of switching it up because this almost feels a little too caveman-y to me sometimes. But at the same time, I might go back. I tried a different brand that I don't really like as much, and honestly, I might be converted for life to literal toothpaste powder. So, yeah, that... Now you know one more thing about me. I've also changed my perfumes. Like, this is the one brand I will say, I don't use any lotions or perfumes or scents from Bath and Body Works anymore. And honestly, it makes me want to shed a tear because Bath and Body Works is just the most iconic place to go when you are like 10 to 13 years old. And I still have a collection of scents and lotions from them. Like, it's just iconic. It's an iconic place. But what's not iconic is the ingredients that are in the lotions and the perfumes. Now that I have only really switched to natural scents as much as possible, I get headaches so much easier when I am around like a lot of fragrances or a lot of different just scents and everything because they are synthetic. They are synthetic, and I'm very conscious about, or I try to be very conscious about all of these beauty products I'm talking about or hygiene, because what you put onto your skin, like, your skin is your largest organ. It absorbs everything that you put onto it. You don't put on a bunch of lotion and then it just like fucking evaporates. Like, it seeps into your skin, which then like seeps into your body and your bloodstream and your cells and whatever. And like, if there are ingredients in that aren't good for you, like that, it just fucking amps up your toxic load a lot. As I said, I'm not a professional on this, so take everything I say with a grain of salt or as it resonates. But I mean, think about it logically. Like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense that these mass-produced lotions, fragrances, whatever, that are like sold at as cheap of rates as possible, or probably made as cheaply as possible, putting a bunch of that, like lathering yourself with that all the time, probably isn't good for you. But nonetheless, as I said, do what feels good for you. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Change the areas of your life you want to change. And if something brings you so much fucking joy, don't cut it out of your life completely just because it's like, oh, it's non-toxic, oh, it's not perfectly clean, I can't have it anymore. Because the joy and happiness that you feel from, I don't know, if it's Bath and Body Works, then there's that. Or even if it's like having fucking Oreos now and then because you absolutely adore them, like, don't let those things die because they're not perfectly non-toxic. This is something that I really, really, really fucking needed to hear years ago. Do not let yourself feel so confined to the box of like, if it's not perfectly non-toxic, then I can't have it, then it's not good for me, then it's gonna make me sick. That stress I've already talked about, but like the lack of joy, the joy that you are keeping yourself from doing something like having nostalgia, eating Oreos or whatever it may be, is not worth it. It's not worth it. Like, the whole point of our lives is to live happily and freely. And if it's getting to a point of balance where you are just constantly obsessing and we're making everything perfect, where you are completely lacking in any sense of like joy and actually living your life, that is when you know I have gone too far. Don't stop your life for the sake of making everything perfect and non-toxic and clean, because you're just going to drive yourself crazy, and it is never, ever, ever going to be worth the cost that you pay in the lack of joy and being able to actually experience life. Moving on, the face wash and the body wash that I use is also a brand that I'm not really sure they're 100% like best, cleanest option, but they seem like the cleanest of the options that I can find from how far I'm willing to look. So that's another area where I try to be non-toxic. So we've basically covered every single thing that I would use for hygiene products. And again, I feel like this is a big area that I've prioritized because what you're putting on your body is also what's getting absorbed. And I also feel like it's the area that's felt the easiest for me to like make these tiny changes and try out new things. Also just to see, like, why not fucking try out like a fucking toothpaste powder? I don't know. Let's just see how it is. Like, sometimes I just like to live a little bit. But that's like main area that I've made choices, because when it comes to food, I am still trying to fucking figure out a good rhythm for like looking for cleaner ingredients, like buying better sourced meats, because the topic of getting into like what actually makes your meat well sourced is like a whole other episode, because there's so many little loopholes and tricks and additives and hormones. And like when I said earlier that the Tallow Organic Grill says that their steak is grass fed and grass finished, that's because there's a tiny little life hack that these farms can use where they can say, oh yeah, it's grass fed beef, but if it's not grass fed and grass finished, they can grass feed the beef like all they want, aka barely, and then just shove them full of whatever other corn that has like additives. Just, it's not like a fully foolproof clean way to be saying that you source your meat. So all that to say that food it's still a difficult one for me. Like I try as best as I can to pick out food ingredients that are, or food with ingredients that are cleaner, with ones that I can pronounce, ones that don't have gums in them or dyes or whatever. A really good resource though for looking out for food ingredients is the Food Babe. She is the account that I've followed for years. She's been posting about this stuff for like forever. She posts legitimate alternatives to a lot of the processed foods that many of us have probably enjoyed in our life, where she actually posts about like legitimate studies that talk about all the effects of the ingredients that are in a lot of our modern day foods. And like her account, I think, has blown up, especially lately, because it seems like we're actually starting to make strides with making changes in the food industry and being like, hey, companies, guess what? I would love if you didn't put all of the shit in our food that you don't put in food in Europe because they have more stringent restrictions. Like, can we maybe like actually look out for our health just a little bit more? Because America in particular, like, we are fucked here. Respectfully, it's getting better, but in terms of our quality of food versus the quality of food in Europe or other countries, like, astronomical. It's why when people travel to Europe, they're like, I ate so much food, but I didn't gain any weight, or like, I feel so much better. Yeah, because it's actually real legitimate food. Like, oh my god. But part of me doesn't feel really well qualified enough to be speaking on the food thing, which is why I'm trying to disclaimer that, like, this is my opinion. This is everything I've absorbed and learned and understood. And, like, from my own logic and deduction of reasoning, like, these are the conclusions I've come to. This is stuff I've heard about from people who are experts in this field, from podcasts, from research, from whatever, but nothing that, gives me credit to be saying, like, this is how you should be eating. But food is still a hard topic. Hard one to get down. But as I said, I try to look for ingredients I can pronounce. I'm trying to figure out better ways to source meats with like actual reliable things. And I only really try to go for I don't go for any of the super processed food. And honestly, once you start straying away from it, those kind of foods just don't even, they're not appealing. They're not. When you get away from more of the processed stuff and you try to actually eat more whole foods, I feel like you naturally wean away from even having any desire to eat food that is just literally, it's just not real food. It's not real food. The last thing I'll say, I am an absolute freak about the water that I drink. I am so OCD about, like, I am a fridge filter queen with my water. I don't know how anyone drinks tap water just as is. I don't know. I'm very picky about that stuff. I think it's also because I'm a mechanical engineer, but I work in the environmental field. Part of my job is environmental consulting and remediation, which means that we actively work with remediating sites that have been contaminated. And I have heard of and seen many stories and examples of communities where people were fully drinking the tap water, fully had like contaminated groundwater as the source that was just casually chilling there that no one really knew about until, later in the future, oh, we found out there's actually this spill like upstream of this river that was then going into like leaching into all of the groundwater that was supplying this entire fucking town or this entire region, this entire area. Like, working in my field has just made me a lot more skeptical of the trust that I have that even things like groundwater and well water is like perfectly fully clean. And now I really don't say that to scare people. You can also look up the quality of your groundwater if you do have like well water in your house online, or this is something that I probably really don't want to see, but there's a way to look up your water quality if you don't have well water, which is something that, again, I really probably don't want to know what's actually in my tap water connected to, you know, like city sewer lines and everything like that, because it's just not good. It's just not good. So to culminate with that, filtered water is that is the only water that I drink. And I also understand that it's absolutely a privilege, and I'm extremely grateful to have the ability to have filtered water. And it is just another application of where you can look out for your health by trying to minimize the heavy metals, the toxins that are also in a lot of tap water. I think I'm going to leave the summary of my non-toxic choices there, because there's more, and, you know, I'm always kind of trying to switch and look out for things that are more natural where I can. But those are the main switches that I've made that I've really enjoyed, that are examples where it makes me feel better to know that, you know, all of these things that I'm putting on my body that I'm using every single day are vetted for my standards as clean as I can find them. And again, this is not an invitation to live exactly how I do exactly all the things that I do, and like follow all of these rules. What I'm trying to invite you guys to do is be curious about the products that you're using, what you're putting into your body, the things that you are exposed to on a day-to-day basis. Understand how it can affect your body long-term, short-term, and that it's ideal for your health to have a minimized toxic load, and then go from there, make your own choices, live a life as happy and aligned as you want to be, making choices that suit your lifestyle based on your opinions and your choices, and go from there. I will say that another thing I prioritize separate of buying non-toxic products is the body's natural detoxification system and like lymphatic drainage. That is a really big thing for naturally clearing out toxins from your body every single day. As I said, your body is designed to clean out toxins, but it can't clean out toxins if the pathways for toxins to get cleaned out of are not clean, which is why having like good blood flow, doing things like dry body brushing or fascia or gua sha-ing, like those small habits help support your lymphatic system, which is a big relief because it naturally supports what your body is already meant to do in detoxifying yourself. I hope this episode was helpful, or at least just a little snippet into what non-toxic living actually means for me and how important it is to really just live a balanced life that feels good for you, but also feel like you're empowered and informed and living as healthy as you want to be living. And I am going to leave it there. So go be your most organic selves, and I will see you in the next one.